Hey Patreons, let's see if the camera doesn't fall down. Oh man, there's so many times I tried this and the camera just went whoop. And so maybe I'll put that in the outtakes if I get all editor on you. So we're driving home. I'm just gonna talk to you a little bit for a few minutes about what I'm working on. So the game, I've been getting some more margin in my life. And so, we had our house for sale. My wife was pregnant and we had the little one. So, yeah, that's great. I'm thankful to God for his birth. His name is Isaac David. And so he's here. And the house is closing soon, hopefully. And so, my life is starting to free up a bit. I have a little more room, my job is not as demanding as it has been. And so I'm starting to think about the game some more, coming back to it, thinking about what I've already done and wanting to get a prototype up. We want something to work with, something to iterate with. And so I need, and I have some decks and stuff that I've already made and tested and stuff, and I know the core engine is workable, tenable, but what I need to start working toward a direction. So even though I have these decks are kind of spread out through the Bible. You might have John the Baptist with Moses and whatnot, and so I just kind of took all the all-stars, Moses and Noah and stuff like that, and I just put them all in the decks. And so I want to avoid that. I want to kind of get focused and say, okay, when we release a product, when we go to Kickstarter, what does it look like? Does it, is it a big box? Is it a small box? How many decks are in there? Is it 2 decks? Is it 4 decks? And what part of the Bible do they cover? Do they cover all the Bible? And I would say no. That's what we currently have right now in testing, is just all this all-star stuff. And I don't want that. I want to take time. I want to labor at the details and take the time to tell the stories, and also take the time to adjust the camera. So I want to take the time to tell the stories, and what I'm trying to figure out is how much of the Bible do we include in each implementation, right? So say that we kickstart, we do some decks, we start with Genesis. Obviously Genesis means the beginning, so it's a great place to start. It's the beginning of the Bible. It makes sense. So do we include Exodus? Do we include other stuff like Job? Job is one of the oldest books in the Bible, and Job has some stuff in it that would be really neat in a card game. So the reason I'm asking these kind of questions is because, like I said, I want to get I want to work toward a product to iterate on. And so my thinking is I make 2 decks or 4 decks if I can out of Genesis. And so I base it in Genesis. I take all the stories from Genesis. You have the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. You have the story of Cain and Abel. You have the story of Noah's Ark, which is a big one. You have the story of Abraham and Sarah, and Joseph in the multicolored coat, and those kind of things. And so while I'm starting to flesh that out, while I'm looking through those storyboards and stuff that we made, or that I made, I'm having trouble, and this is the problem I'm having right now. The problem is that there's no bad guy, okay? There's no bad guy, and you're thinking, well, of course there's a bad guy. It's Satan. He's the bad guy. He's the serpent, right? Okay, but that's good. I mean, we have the serpent in the Garden of Eden, right? He's a bad guy. But how do we make a deck out of the serpent, right? What other minions or what other things did the serpent have that we could put in a deck, right? And you start to think about it, and there's nothing. There's not a lot of bad guys. And when you think about Noah, who is the bad guy in the Noah story, right? It's the people who rejected God. Those are the bad guys, right? And they were judged. But what do they look like? How do we make a card out of the people? Do we just put the people? Do we put rebel rousers, or do we? And isn't that generic? It's a generic thing. It's Noah. This well-known force, right, against the people, or against random number 1. And that doesn't make for interesting gameplay. It doesn't make for an interesting game. So we have some options to try to solve this problem. The first option is to make things up. Just to be like, oh, there was this dude, his name was Xerneas, and he was, that's a Pokemon, by the way. His name was Xerneas, and he's like, he's a bad dude, and he had this whole team, and you can build a whole world around that, right? That's something I really don't want to do, because I want to stick to the text. I want to stay true to the text, and I don't want to add a bunch of stuff that just wasn't there. Someone plays the card game and then they're like, oh yeah, I remember in the Bible that Xerneas dude, and it's like, nah, Xerneas was not in the Bible. So something I want to avoid, but it is an option, something that we have to put the options on the table. The other thing we could do is we could just take bad guys from other stories of the Bible, and just let them all play together. That's doable, but I don't like it because it's not clean. It's not elegant. You don't have, the cool thing about releasing everything in Genesis in like 2 or 4 decks is that as you play them, the stories are bunched together more often. You don't have, you don't have everything scattered. It's kind of like you can actually live the story of the Garden of Eden, which is kind of cool, and that's a neat thing that if I don't have to give it up, I don't want to give it up. And the other option, which is something that I might look into, is we can go out of the text, but not to make stuff up, right? We can go to Jewish writings, we can go to historians and look at some of the tensions and stuff that were actually happening at the time, and then we can build the enemies from that. So it's a truism about what's happening, but it's not necessarily in the Bible per se. It's not maybe something that the Bible alluded to or something, like when Cain was getting judged by God, he was like, they're going to make me, I'm going to be a wanderer and a vagabond, and that meant that there was people there. He said, they're going to find me and they're going to kill me. And God said, no, I'm going to give you a mark that makes it so that people won't kill you. So there's these people in the story of Cain and Abel that we don't get to see. Well, who were they? What were they like? They were violent. It's they must have been for Cain to be worried about it, right? So anyways, this is the problem I'm trying to work through, is trying to find the villains in the Bible that we can craft an enemy deck out of, a Dominion of Darkness deck. And that's really where we're at. So that's going to be, that's what I'm working on now. I'm listening through Genesis, seeing if there's some stuff that I missed or stuff that I don't know. And I think there is quite a bit of that. So, next time I have an update, I'll stop by and leave it for you guys. I'm getting really excited for the new Magic set called Amonkhet that's coming out. It's set in the world of Egypt. So I get to watch all these Magic artists do Egyptian art and look at the mechanics that are telling those stories, and I can learn from the pros, so I'm excited about that. If you guys have ideas, leave them in the comments or just get a hold of me. You know how to do that. I really appreciate you being Patreons. I appreciate you guys hanging in there, and we're gonna just keep working on this game, and slowly but surely we'll piece something together. So thanks again. I will talk to you soon.